说谢谢老师。
谢谢老师，谢谢老师。
说谢谢老师。
谢谢老师，谢谢老师。
说谢谢老师。
谢谢老师，谢谢老师。
谢谢老师。
老师，谢谢老师。
Is anyone getting an echo? There seems to be some kind of a feedback loop here. Is anyone getting an echo?
I don't hear any feedback.
Okay, I think I just... Well, give me one moment. There seems to be some kind of a feedback loop. Oh, that's what it... Never mind.
Well, I was for a while, but it seems to be fixed now.
Yeah, it's gone.
For a second. Okay, maybe not. Okay. Well, it's 5:31. So let's call this CMAC meeting.
Recording in progress.
Lolita, could I get a roll call?
Yes. Amanda Nelson,
Present.
Damian Cole,
Here?
David Jackman, Juan Martinez. I think I see one. Judy Stanfield, Kelly Orr,
Here.
Michael Gothrop Hutchins,
Here.
Panas Stouffer,
Here.
Richard Landon.
Rick has strep throat, so he will not be here.
Okay. Ryan Bernadette,
Here.
Suting Chin.
Here.
Thank you. And from RTC, we have Graham Dollarhide, Sai Sun, Thomas Tsunamoto, Jim Gee, and Marquise Williams. That's roll call.
Thank you. Before we move on to item 2, I just wanted to give 2 minor updates to the agenda. These are both concerning item 5, the information and discussion items. So we will be striking items 5.1 and 5.2, which are related to the RTC budget. Those won't be presented to this body, but if you're interested, there is a RTC board meeting with that information. Secondly, we will be presenting item 5.4 in advance of item 5.3. So that's item 5.4, provide information, advice, and recommendations regarding the proposed amendment number 6 to the FFY 23 through 27 Regional Transportation Improvement Program. That'll be before the update on construction, installation, and maintenance of benches, shelters, and transit stops. With that in mind, I'll move on to item number 2, which is the verbal instructions required by Assembly Bill 219. If you are participating via Zoom, to provide public comment during the meeting, please make sure your computer or device has a working microphone. Use the chat feature to submit a request to make a comment. When the time comes to make public comment, you will be invited to speak. If you are participating by telephone to provide public comment, you should have contacted RTC agency services prior to 4 p.m. yesterday and provided the telephone number you would be calling from, as well as the item or items you wanted to speak or comment on. When the time comes to make public comments, you will be invited to speak. So with that, I will hand it over to Sue Ting, the CMAC chair.
Are there any public comments either on this call? Committee members may make public comment, and then I'll check the chat as well. And then RTC, are there any guests? who are here to make public comment?
No guests that I'm aware of.
Okay. Then moving on. Number 4, approve the April 2nd committee meeting minutes. So this is included in our packet from our Wednesday, April 9th meeting. Are there any questions, revisions, or is there a motion to approve?
Kelly Orr, for the record, I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Any second?
Ryan
I'll second.
Burnett, I'll second.
Perfect. Damian/Brian seconded the motion to approve the minutes. Any discussion or questions before we vote to approve? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Excellent. The minutes are approved. And then Marquise, I am looking at an agenda before you struck them out. So we're striking out 5.1.
Correct. So items 5.1 and 5.2 will not be.
Great.
continued.
Thanks for putting those in order. So we'll move on to 5.3.
we're
Provide
actually gonna-
information. Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to start with 5.4.
We're going to start with 5.4, provide information, advice, and recommendations regarding the proposed amendment number 6 to the fiscal years. I don't know what the 2 Fs are. 2023 to 27 Regional Transportation Improvement Program. And I see now why you call it RTIP.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Graham Dollarhide. I'm a planning manager with RTC. I will be presenting, as Suting mentioned, on the proposed amendment to the federal fiscal year 2023 to 2027 Regional Transportation Improvement Program, or RTIP. Is everybody seeing my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
So before I jump into the details of the changes being made, I'll just go over a little bit of the background of the RTIP, its purpose, and overview of the process involved in amending the document. So the RTIP is a federally required program of scheduled and fiscally constrained transportation improvement projects that are designed to achieve the area's goals and objectives established in the long-range plan, the Regional Transportation Plan, or RTP. And the RTIP, it includes all federally funded transportation projects and all regionally significant transportation projects, regardless of funding source, and carried out by any agency within the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, boundary. So that's why oftentimes you will see projects in the RTIP that are led not only by the RTC, but by other agencies as well, such as City of Reno, City of Sparks, Washoe County, or NDOT. And then one final note about the RTIP here on this slide: inclusion in the RTIP is one of the necessary steps in making a project eligible for federal funding. So very important step. So this slide here, this graphic, just provides a quick overview of kind of that process of how projects move from that long range vision to all the way through implementation. So the first little bubble we have showing here is that long range plan. That is where projects are identified and prioritized. And then the next bubble, where we're at right now, that is the short range program of projects. The projects that were identified and prioritized as high need, high priority projects in that long range plan, those are the ones that are going to be included in the program of projects, the short range document. And then doing that enables projects to then move forward into the agreement and implementation phases. Couple of quick notes about this particular action. The current iteration of the RTIP that we are in is the federal fiscal year 2023 to 2027 RTIP, which was adopted in August of 2023. We will be doing an all-new adoption later this August. So this will probably be the last amendment to this iteration of the RTIP. And Amendment 1, the initial amendment that we did to the RTIP was back in November of 23, followed by subsequent amendments in January of 24, June of 24, September of 24, and February of this year. And this particular amendment is necessary to consolidate existing projects, add all new ones, and then update others. So with that, I'll jump into the details of each of the projects up for amendment here. So the US 395 North Valley's Golden Valley to Stead Phase 2 project is an amendment to an existing project in the RTIP to move a portion of the project scope and budget into another project. So I'll mention that project a little bit later when I get to it in my slides. But essentially the scope and that portion of the scope's budget is being extracted from this project here and being moved into another project. So nothing lost. It's just a matter of semantics, essentially. The I-80 East Washoe project is an amendment to an existing project to increase the total project cost based on anticipated federal discretionary awards, as well as adding the Phase 2 of the construction part of the project. So an associated increase in the total cost with that. The I-80 Verdi Bridge Replacements Phase 1 project is an amendment to an existing project to increase the total cost, again, based on an anticipated federal discretionary award, but also the cost increase here in this case is also a result of just an updated cost estimate relative to the very preliminary estimate that was done at the time that this project was originally added. The State Route 667 Kitsky Lane from South Virginia Street to Plum Lane, State Route 653 Plum Lane from Kitsky Lane to Terminal Way project is an amendment to an existing project simply to move that project back in the timeline. No other changes to scope or budget or anything like that. It's just going to be constructed at a later date. The multi-layer overlay on various structures throughout Washoe County project is an amendment to an existing project to increase the total cost. The cost increase in this case is due to the different structures being incorporated into the scope. So the original scope had fewer structures. A few of them were swapped out, swapped in, swapped out, but overall more structures are being included in the scope of this project. The Reno Towing and Recovery Incentive Program FY25 to 29 project is an all-new project to the RTIP, and this project will fund a program that reduces incident clearance times and improve traffic safety throughout the region. It's not location specific, which is why there's no map for this one. The US 395A South Virginia Street Safety Improvements Project is a new project to the RTIP, and it'll address safety improvements identified in the South Virginia Street Safety Management Plan. An interesting note about this project in particular, this Safety Management Plan, or SMP, was completed in parallel to one of RTC's studies, the South Virginia Street Transit-Oriented Development Study. Some of you may remember presentations on that one. But essentially, that TOD study looked at the feasibility of extending the existing Virginia Line bus rapid transit route from its current terminus at Meadowood Mall south to essentially Summit Mall. So it was being done, the South Virginia Street corridor was being looked at the same time that NDOT was looking at a chunk of South Virginia Street. And so those projects were feeding off of each other throughout the development timeline to ensure that, vision and goals and things like that were were consistent across the two studies, making sure that recommendations from one study didn't preclude recommendations from another study and vice versa. So interesting note there. State Route 648 2nd Street Safety Repairs to Pedestrian Bridge Project is a new project to the RTIP, which will repair a pedestrian bridge at 2nd Street and Golden Lane, there by the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. The State Route 430 North Virginia Street Multimodal Project is an amendment to an existing project to add the right-of-way and construction phases to the project and associated increases in budget. So this is the project that I referenced earlier, the first project that I covered where the scope and a chunk of the budget was being removed. This is the project that is going into. So again, nothing lost in terms of scope and budget. It's just taking it out of one project and putting it into another. The State Route 439 USA Parkway Preservation Project is an amendment to an existing project to move the project timeline back. And this project has a very small chunk in Washoe County, which is why it is being included in our RTIP. Similarly, the I-80 Fernley Painted Rock Interchange to East Fernley Grade Separation Project is an amendment to an existing project to move the project timeline back. And once again, even though the bulk of the project is in and through Fernley, there is a small chunk of the project that is in Washoe County, which is why we have to include it in our RTIP. The Vassar Street Multimodal Improvements Project is an amendment to an existing project to change the federal funding source. No changes to scope or budget here, it's just the color of money. The Vine Street Bike Facility Project is a an existing project that is being removed from the RTIP, but it is being consolidated into another project. So I'll go over that here with the next few slides, but essentially this project and the next three that I'll touch on are being removed from the RTIP, but the entire scope and budget is being consolidated into one project, again, for semantics type reasons. So the Vine Street project, the 5th Street Multimodal Improvements Project, the Virginia Street Micromobility Project, and the Lake Street, Sinclair Street, Evans Avenue Micromobility Project are all being removed and consolidated into the Biggest Little Bike Network project. So this Biggest Little Bike Network project, it is an all-new project to the RTIP that consolidates those other four that I just mentioned, full scope and budget consolidated into this one project. Again, the projects that I mentioned for consolidation or kind of reconfiguration for semantical reasons, that is essentially to help streamline those agreement and implementation phases that I talked about earlier. So this will help the programming here in this phase will assist with the follow through with, again, the agreement and implementation phases. Couple final notes here before I wrap up. The proposed amendment number 6, it does require RTC board, state, and federal approvals. Our public comment period was opened as of April 24th and carries through May 14th. It was advertised through our standard media outlets, including a Spanish language newspaper, and posted to the RTC website. It has been presented to our technical advisory committee, presented to this body, of course, ahead of a public hearing scheduled for the RTC board meeting on May 16th. So with that, I will take any questions you may have. Thank you. Damien?
Yes, hi. I went ahead and posted the questions in the chat just so that way people
looks
can
like
read
you're on
them.
mute, Damien.
Oops. Sorry about that. Yeah, I posted the questions that I had here in the chat so that way people can read them. But yeah, the projects that were presented Is there any information about those projects on the website? A few of them were new to me, like the I-80 Bridges project and stuff.
Yeah, so the same information you received in your packets, that's what's posted to the website currently. There'll also be similar but slightly more information available on the ESTIP website. And Murph, you might be able to help me out with the exact web address. Maybe you can post it in the chat. But that is the public-facing site that allows the public to view all the currently programmed projects throughout the state.
All right, thank you. And you mentioned that the all of the individual micromobility projects are being consolidated into the biggest little city project, biggest little bike network project. Yeah. So does that change the scope or the budgeting for each of those individual ones? And does it does anything else change besides just copy pasting them and putting them into another project or?
No, not at this time. Yeah, so the full scope and budget, everything that is being removed from the RTIP is being added into this new project. And as I mentioned, it just helps streamline the agreement process, particularly with NDOT. So this is an agreement that has to go through NDOT as well, because it's using federal funding that is passed through NDOT. So we have to have an LPA agreement with NDOT, and then it'll also help on our end the bidding process to hire a contractor to help construct the project. It'll help to have it all as part of one instead of having to bid out for separate projects.
And does it change the flexibility of being able to change the design from what it currently is? In other words, is it affecting the design process of the biggest little bike network?
Yeah, good question. No, that won't affect any ability for example, public to provide input at the different design levels. Engineers internally, will still go through our same phases of design and review and, update. So that won't impact any flexibility that we may have had as keeping these projects separate.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. I didn't really follow what you were saying about the significance of the two plans having been developed together. Are you saying that the South Virginia BRT expansion is programmed in the RTIP, and now the safety management plan is also going to be programmed in the RTIP, and so they'll be able to complement each other?
No, sorry if I was confusing a little bit there. So the only reason I bring it up is because there were two plans ongoing at the same time, one being conducted by RTC for transit expansion and one being conducted by NDOT for safety enhancements to South Virginia Street, to the roadway itself. The project that I mentioned here is a result of recommendations from that NDOT study, the NDOT plan, the safety plan on South Virginia Street. So I guess I mentioned the RTC plan to say that some of those safety considerations were presented to RTC. RTC had an opportunity to comment. We actually participated on the road safety audit as well as part of that study, that plan. So yeah, I guess I just mentioned it to say that there was a little bit of coordination there. That's all.
Thanks.
Thank you. Michael.
Yeah, just a quick question. I seem to remember when the micromobility study was being done that 3rd and 6th Street were included in that study. Are those projects still, for lack of better terms, on the books, just still being kept separate from the biggest little bike network, or have those been dropped?
Yeah, so as part of the original Biggest Little Bike Network, 6th Street was explicitly excluded because it was funded through a different source. We had won a federal discretionary grant for the 6th Street portion of that. So that is going to require a separate agreement and everything like that. So that project kind of got carved out. And then 3rd Street was not recommended by the city going forward. And so it was reevaluated as part of RTC's regional transportation plan update. And at the time that it was 3rd Street was kind of carved out of the Biggest Little Bike Network, that was kind of the intention was to reevaluate, rescore, reprioritize 3rd Street through the RTP process, which it was. And it ended up as an unfunded project in the RTP. It is still in the RTP, but as unfunded right now. So it's not going back into the RTIP as of right now.
Yeah. All right, yeah, that makes sense. And I kind of guessed that was the case, but wanted to make sure I wasn't making false assumptions.
Yep, thank you. Damien?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question to that. I remember that when we removed, well, I didn't remove anything, but when RTC announced at one of our meetings that they were removing Center Street, 3rd Street, a couple of other streets, I think, from the micromobility downtown corridor. I mean, the one that had the big long name back then. I think that's what you were talking about, right? When it was, so in other words, you're saying that it's still in the RTP, even though it was removed from the RTIP. In other words, you're looking at it for a longer term. Is that, am I hearing that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yep. Is there any information on that anywhere? Because I after it was removed from the RTIP, I just thought, oh, Center Street cycle track is gone.
I'm not sure what level of information you're looking for, but as I mentioned, it was kind of reevaluated and reprioritized through the RTP process. So it didn't score as well, essentially, as the bottom line, and or not enough funding was available for it. So it was left in the RTP as identified as a need, but didn't score well enough to make it through into the RTIP. However, the upcoming adoption that I mentioned, that will be that'll be a process to look at any additional funds that we have for the next 2 years, essentially, that get added on to the RTIP. So right now we're looking at the FFY 23 to 27 RTIP. When we adopt in August, it's going to be the FFY 25 to 29. So 2 additional years, essentially, worth of funding that's going to be evaluated for potential addition of projects, moving some of those high priority projects from the RTP into the RTIP, this new iteration. So
yeah, the reason why I asked that is because I remember that Truckee Meadows Bicycle Alliance was really looking forward to having the Center Street cycle track made and having it been removed from the RTIP, and also having been, I don't know exactly what they were voting on then. The city council voted it down because they kind of consolidated their votes for yes for what RTC was planning for the Biggest Little Bike Network. So at the time, it sounded like that 3rd Street and Center Street and I can't remember what the other ones were, but those were like completely off the books. But now it's sounding like that those might actually happen. They're just not budgeted for the 5-year.
correct. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I mean, they might want to know that. It didn't seem clear. It didn't even seem like that was a thing. So, Sue, you
we
Madam
presented
Chair,
it as such at the time when they were removed from the RTIP. We did note that they were both still in the RTP at that time. So yeah.
Okay.
I know. I think it's just hard when it doesn't look or feel like there's forward motion on it.
Yeah.
But I think a recheck on what that status is would be really helpful. So I definitely don't trust my ability to recap that accurately. But Graham, if you could, like in a paragraph or in a few sentences, I'm happy to share back with the team. what that is looking like now.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you want that now, or you want that separately later?
Separately later is fine.
Okay.
And then the minutes do also, capture some of this, but I think whatever you said was really helpful. I just didn't write it down when you said it, and I'm not gonna pretend I can recall it accurately.
And,
Sure.
And
Thank you.
Sue, also, I have the recording on YouTube, so if we need to go back, we can look at it.
I know, but it gives him
Yeah.
a chance to say what he wants to say, even if he want to change a few
I
things.
just know that a few of the guys over at TMVA would be interested to hear this. Yep. Just thought they would find it helpful.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Graham.
Now we're moving backwards to 5.3, unless I'm wrong, Marquise, you tell me. 5.3 says, provide information and advice regarding the construction, installation, and maintenance of benches, shelters, and transit stops for RTC passengers. I think this is always what makes me feel like time is moving really fast, because it's a quarterly report and like we're here again already. Who will be presenting today?
Yeah, Sai, this is Sai. Can everybody
Excellent.
hear me?
Thank you. Yes, we can hear you and see your presentation.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. This is Sai Sun, RTC Transit Planner. And today, again, I'm presenting bus stop quarterly amenity report. But this time, we will cover from February to April 2025. First, bench installations. A bench was installed at McCarran and Mayen in March on Route 11, and this is NDOT right-of-way. And NDOT has completed the final inspection for this small project. So officially, this case was closed in April. Thanks for your patience. And another bench was installed at Sky Vista at the lakes at Lemon Valley apartment, is on Route 7. And responding to a public request, we installed a shelter at Nail and Peckham on Route 12, and there is an existing concrete pad at this location, so it's relatively easier for us to install the shelter. And usually when we got similar requests, we need to evaluate the location based on first ridership and then space availability, right of way, as well as pavement conditions. For example, we are unable to install shelters on the asphalt surface, such as parking lot. So just to let you know. And a shelter solar light was installed at a Rancho before Sullivan on Route 5, and it's based on passengers and drivers' feedback. And also, the May service change was effective on May the 3rd. So all the bus schedules in shelters have been updated. And for future improvements, RTC Mill Street Capacity and Safety Improvement Project has started from April 14th. Bus stop on Mill Street from Yori to Terminal were closed because of construction, and these stops will be improved as part of the Mill Street project. And lastly, but importantly, budget. The bus stop improvement have been discussed at RTC board retreat in March, and we will continue to improve the bus stop amenities in our region. And RTC decided to put $500,000 in the budget for FY26. We are currently working on the list of bus stops that need improvements. For example, the stop at Walmart at 2nd Street is definitely one of the stops. So if you are aware of any bus stop that should be included in the list, feel free to reach out. All right, this is what I got for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, go ahead.
Oh, but I was going to throw out a suggestion for a bus stop, the Virginia line stop at 5th and Virginia. Had my first experience with a few months ago, and anything that would make it more visible and easy to find. I know that I ended up having to go up and down the block a few times to be confident I was in the right spot, and I saw a few other people doing the same thing. So I don't think it's exactly a unique experience I had. So just kind of throwing that out there if we're able to make suggestions. And that's the only one that I really have to comment on right now. I do notice that someone in chat is saying they don't know how to raise their hand, so they want to
Oh,
take over.
if I may, to raise your hand, you click on React, and then in that little pop-up panel that comes up when you click React, there's Raise Hand. So it's kind of hidden. I don't know why they did that.
Hi, my name is Juan Martinez, and I requesting a bench over at the new location of the Nevada Hope Clinic on 4th Street. Thank you.
A. Nelson, you are up.
Hi, I'm not going to start my video because I'm actually sick and in the hospital. So, so the Route 11 bus stop coming from 7th Street Walmart, it's going to be the bus stop just past the Mayan stop that you had mentioned. It's it's like in the freeway on-ramp turn lane. So it's incredibly dangerous to try to get a bus into there and then pull it back out, especially during any sort of traffic. It's so dangerous. People are swerving around you trying to get to the freeway on-ramp. So, I mean, they bagged it at one point and put it out of service, and then they put it back in service. And I'm just wondering if there's a safer spot for it, maybe before you cross that intersection. It's pretty dangerous. And then there is a bus stop on Mayan on the Route 4 coming down Mayan towards that's Robb Drive. So you're coming down, there's a bus stop that you can see the bus stop, but the bench is brought back, and there is a full bush enclosure around it, so you can't see if there's people there ever. You can't see anybody until you're actually there, and that sort of creates a dangerous situation. I don't know if those bushes can get cut, at least maybe on one side where we can see people at the stop and we don't have to slam on our brakes to pick them up. I could name 100 bus stops, but those are the two that click out in my mind right now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Thank you.
I think I may have met you in the meeting at Keolis before when we were discussing some bus stop stuff.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Damien, go ahead.
Hi, yes. I actually had a question for Michael, and depending on what he says, I wanted to tap the opinion of A. Nelson. I'm sorry. A is that what's your first name? I'm sorry. I don't want to call you A.
It's Amanda. And
Amanda.
I'm a driver, but
Yes.
mostly I'm an instructor there.
Okay. Well, yeah, as a bus driver, I'd love to ask you something. But Michael, you said that there's a stop on Virginia at 5th Street now?
Yeah, there's, so at least the map says that there's both directions, northbound and southbound. I still haven't found the northbound stop, but I did eventually find the southbound one.
Okay, good. Because I
They're
remember.
both there.
because I know that there's one north of 6th Street. It's right there. I see the bus pad on my Google Maps. Is that what you were looking for?
So maybe it was sixth and not fifth, but
Yeah, because as
Yeah.
far as I know, there's
Yeah.
nothing on 5th yet.
It's between, it's on Virginia between 5th and 6th.
Okay.
It's,
Huh.
so it's not a landing pad. There's one right in front of the pawn shop if you're going northbound, and then right in front of the Circus entrance if you're coming southbound. And it's just a tiny little pole with
Huh.
a little green round sign,
Yeah.
less than the size of a dinner plate, and it says Rapid.
Rapid.
It
I see.
doesn't say,
Yeah.
yeah.
I see the
And that is,
southbound one.
yeah, so the southbound one's right at Circus, and the northbound one is right in front of the pawn shop.
The pawn shop, because there's nothing. I thought they tore down all of the buildings. Maybe you're talking about between 4th and 5th.
I actually am. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I
so
just
it's
want to make
right
sure,
before 5th Street. So it would be Virginia at 5th.
because I ride my bike on the sidewalk to avoid traffic, and I've never seen the stop there before. So I'm like, what? So which line is that? Is that the Rapid?
Yeah.
So my question to you, what would you think if instead of having the stop, okay, so is that the southbound, inbound, or is that outbound?
That would be northbound.
Northbound.
So that's, yeah, Virginia line doesn't, inbound and outbound are funky on that one.
Yeah, I
because they
wonder
don't-
how come they don't have it stop at the stop in front of the new apartments on next to, because 6th Street is a lot wider. I can imagine it'd be easier for the bus drivers to go north on Evans, because you leave heading, I forgot which direction the buses face, but isn't 6 a lot bit easier to make like left turns on and right turns? It's kind of weird that they
So
would have it on 4th.
we don't turn on 5th. We come up 4th. So we come out of 4th Street Station. We come up 4th to
Huh.
Virginia, and so we make a left on 4th and a right on Virginia. That way we can pull basically straight into the
Yeah.
bus stop without trying to
And-
land in after a turn.
What about when they have special events? Because they close down that portion of Virginia Street until
Yeah,
you get to 6th.
we don't even go there at all. We come up to 9th.
Crazy.
We go
What if they
center to
moved
9th.
because if they moved that stop to 6th Street, you wouldn't have to worry about that, because they never close down the street north of 6th. That's kind of crazy. Maybe if they relocated that stop, people could find it because it's right in front of the apartments too, and seems more easy for people to get to where they need to go. I don't know, just thinking aloud.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
actually have a lot of passengers that get on or off there. Just a
Yeah.
few older people and a couple of the people who do the cleaning at Circus.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, is that your background noise?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
sorry. Yes. And the only reason I found out the stop was there is because I was coming from St. Mary's, and
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
what I was thinking.
grumbling about having to walk all the way to 4th Street, and Google Maps said, "Oh no, don't worry, there's one closer."
And that's what I'm saying, because the Virginia Street is narrower between 5th and 4th than it is at 6th. So there's more room for cars to pass by. And it just seems kind of weird that they would have it on 4th, especially since it's going to be closed half the time because, whenever you have special events. And they have a full bus pad right there in front of the apartments. What are they called? It's got the Wolves, and it's not Wolf Run, but I think it's owned by the same company. You go what the name of it is, right? The ones I'm talking about. Something Canyon Flats. That's it. In front of Canyon Flats, there's a full bus pad, and they could easily have a rapid stop there that doesn't have to close down and could probably be a little bit more identifiable, and it's closer to the hospital. Yeah, just a thought. They wouldn't even have to build anything. They just reroute the bus.
You mean reroute the bus to go to that pad?
Yeah, because you're going to be going north on Virginia Street anyway, right?
Yeah.
So instead of stopping between 4th and 5th, just stop north of 6th, right there at that pad. And it's right across the street from the parking lot. So it would still be easy to find.
The Virginia line does stop at all the pads.
Because it's a block away. Are you sure that they stop at 2 different stops a block away?
Yes.
Okay, because this one just says Route 7. Okay, I don't know.
No, all the pads, Virginia line stops at all the pads, and Route 7 also stops at those pads as well.
Maybe I'm calling it the wrong thing. There's a bench there. It's more identifiable. In other words, there's a bench, there's a bus stop.
Oh, yes,
and it's
I know which
in,
one you're
in
talking
front of
about.
the Canyon Flats.
It's not like a full station pad.
No. But there
Okay.
would be room for one there, especially when they're building these new bike lanes.
Yeah.
So that might be something for them to consider with the biggest little bike network, to coordinate with them and figure out if they can put a full-fledged rapid stop there.
Yeah, or label it as a rapid stop, because
Yeah.
the one in front of the Peppermill is just a little shelter like that as well.
Right. Yeah.
And we use that too. Okay.
There's just more room because there's 5 lanes currently. There's 4 lanes and a median, a turn lane there. So there's more room for people to navigate and stuff.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
I will definitely bring it up to my managers. My managers aren't RTC, it's Keolis, but I frequent the board meetings, the RTC board meetings as well.
And here's also something to consider, is that if the bus turns onto 6th and then heads down Lake to get to 4th Street Station, where they just they tore down that single family house and it's just a bare area there, they could also put a full rapid pad there on 6th. So they would both be across the street from each other there too. And there's wide room to turn. So I actually gave that idea to Sarah Going at one point. So I don't know. Well, thanks for the presentation, though.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions, comments about these shelters? Okay, rolling right along. Number 6, RTC staff announcements.
No announcements that I'm aware of, Sue.
Perfect. And then will you just say again for me what we're doing with 5.1 and 5.2? Are they being postponed or are they not going to be on our agendas?
So 5.1 and 5.2 are both budget items that needed to go to the TAC and to the RTC board. So they won't be presented at this body, but those are viewable. You can either watch the TAC meeting or the RTC board meeting to get that same information. But no, we won't present those here.
Okay, excellent. And I know these are available on the internet, but could you remind us when the next RTC board meeting is?
It is the 3rd Friday, so that is the 16th of May.
Excellent. Are there any upcoming items on the agenda that you already know about that we can look forward to?
The one big one, we're scheduled to bring the Central Reno Neighborhood Network Plan draft report to the June meeting. That's scheduled to be presented to the RTC board at the June 20th meeting for approval by the RTC board at the July meeting on consent. So we'll have a presentation for you next month, and then look for board approval in July.
Cool, thank you. And then, oh man. Oh, are there any of the neighborhood plans that are in the public comment phase?
Currently, there are not any neighborhood plans in the public comment phase. Once we give that presentation next month, that'll open the public comment period for on that final draft document, or that, I guess the draft full document. So at that time,
tram
if
network
you
here-
do have comments on the draft plan, feel free. We'll give you ways to submit those comments. Similarly, we'll be coming with the equivalent presentation for Sparks in August. Yeah, in August. So that'll be a chance for public comment there. I do want to add on that we are currently in the early procurement phase for neighborhood plans 3 and 4, along with several other corridor projects. As Vanessa, the director of planning, discussed in last month's CMAC meeting. So there'll be plenty of public comment period here in the next year or so. We're really busy here in planning, so looking forward to getting your guys' feedback on all of those corridor studies and upcoming neighborhood plans.
Excellent. Thank you. Number 7 is public comment. So this can be on items on the agenda or off the agenda. Comments are to be made to the whole committee and not to an individual committee member or staff. Committee members may also provide public comment, and you are limited to 3 minutes. Is there anybody on this call? Perfect. We'll do Damien first. And then you can go ahead.
Hi, yes. I would like to make a push for light rail in Truckee Meadows, and also to suggest to RTC and NDOT to take a look at that format of rail for the study that they're conducting to create alternative transportation between Reno, Sparks, and TRIC, Gigafactory, Tesla, that area there. I've been looking a lot more into it lately, and I've even started creating a basic network connectivity plan for this. And I would love to share that information to anyone who would be relevant to show it to. I don't know who's conducting the study, but the reasons for picking light rail over, let's say, like a heavy rail transportation, mass transportation, there's several different factors, but the number one factor is that light rail can handle a lot steeper slopes, a steeper grade. Now, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the terrain over at the Gigafactory in that area there, but number one, there's a lot of tight curves, and 2, there is steeper slopes that a fellow train fanatic of mine, he and I both discussed this, and he was of the opinion that there would be absolutely no way to get heavy rail going up the slope, let's say from USA Parkway to along Electric Avenue. And the plan that I've been rudimentarily cobbling together would actually create a hub that would be on the corner of Virginia and Liberty, between Virginia and Sierra, and would actually have a system that would go down Midtown, and then once it reaches Plum, it would turn into center lanes all the way from Plum down to Sierra Summit. So this would also possibly coincide and work with the BRT plans that they are conducting. I know that BRT is not LRT, but if my memory serves correctly, is that NDOT was looking at center lanes for BRT at one point, and that would mean that if in the future they do decide to make LRT, they would be easier to convert to rail. So a tram system, or what people call streetcars, I think might be a viable solution, especially if they put this into the I-80 expansion. If they were to put LRT lanes in between the median going along I-80 out to Tesla, and then head down from Clark down to all of those industrial complexes there, I think that might be their solution. So I'd love to share more information about that with someone. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I did it. I set a timer and you finished on time, and now we're ready for the next one. Good job, team.
My internal clock
So,
is fine-tuned to this now.
Pada, whenever you're ready.
I wasn't even looking at a clock.
I put my comments in the chat, and Damien, you should check the chat as well, because Jim
Ooh.
is saying that you can contact him.
Ooh.
And anyway, my comment is kind of related to what Damien said. I think it must have been the February meeting, since the March meeting was canceled and I missed the April meeting. But I was interested at the time in transportation-related bills making their way through the legislature, because I had seen on the news that there was Transportation Day at the legislature and that RTC was supporting a few bills. And I also heard that there was a light rail bill in this year's legislative session. So I'm sure you have someone who tracks these things, and I would just be interested in an update in the future on which bills made it through where, and what potential impacts they have on transportation. I know it's a busy legislative session, but if there's an opportunity to learn about that at some point, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, we made it. We're early, so you're welcome. I guess. It's what happens when you take 2 items off the agenda. Number 8 is adjournment, and if I remember correctly, we don't vote. We just call it and say it's good and have a wonderful month, and we'll see you in June.
Alrighty.
Have
Thanks,
a
CJ.
wonderful month. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
155 Glendale Ave. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Recording stopped.